What's going on, guys? It's your boy Stonk Scrubbe here, back again with another video. Today on the stock market, stocks went up, stocks went down. We're going to talk about all the major stories, all that good stuff. Before we get into it, though, keep in mind this is not financial advice. I'm talking about stock news over gameplay. It's more for entertainment. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so our first story that we're going to be talking about today is from the automotive industry. Ford shares have been on an absolute tear ever since they announced the F-150 Lightning, which is the electric F-150. They've talked a lot about moving a lot of their products over to electric engine, and whenever you do that, currently your stock goes bonkers. So they've been on a tear, and they ended up crossing a threshold that I definitely thought they were already at anyways. Ford market cap tops $100 billion for the first time ever. Honestly, that's still an insanely large amount of money, and congratulations to everybody at Ford. You know, they really turned things around in the last couple years. That being said, I definitely thought Ford was one of the companies that was already above the $100 billion valuation mark, you know. I'm just saying, if Apple's just passed $3 trillion, I assumed that GM and Ford were both at least $100 billion. So kudos to Ford, but I just thought it was surprising that Ford, as important as it's been to America's history, was not a more valuable company anyways. Next up was an article I read that low-key was pretty horrifying about flying taxis. Joby CEO says he wants to make flying taxis as cheap as yellow cabs. And listen, this is absolutely no disrespect to the Joby CEO or the Joby company, you know, I'm not too familiar with what they do. I just feel like flying cars is not something I want, alright? Because let's put it this way, dude. Have you ever been sitting around driving on the road, looked at the person next to you and gone, oh my god, how did you get your license? Here's the thing, driving is dangerous enough. You're hurtling across the earth in a 2,000-pound piece of metal. Now, let's just add to the fact how bad normal people are at driving, but put them 10,000 feet up in the sky. Any tiny little fender bender instantly becomes a problem when you go hurtling to the earth, you know? DUI in cars is bad enough. The last thing we need is people just willy-nilly driving a plane drunk. The only way I think I would ever begin to trust flying taxi technology is if it was automated. And like I said, this is no insult to the company. I'm sure that the way they're working on it, they are way smarter than me. I'm not sitting here saying I'm smarter than them. Just for me personally, I don't know how I would feel about hopping in an air taxi, or if all of a sudden everybody owned a little plane. I don't know how I'd feel. Moving over to something that, I'm not really quite sure what to say other than we've all known this has to have been coming at some point. Central banks start turning off the cash taps. Obviously, if you watch this channel, you know, every market update I talk about how dumb the banks have been for printing so much money and causing inflation. So at least it looks like all the central banks are starting to realize that they don't need to do that and are turning off the cash tap. I think this is a good thing, you know. I just think it's going to be a matter of how late they were to turning it off and how bad the damage that was done already was. Obviously, I'm not a financial expert. This isn't financial advice, all that good stuff. But, you know, printing, 50% of the entirety of a currency in 2 years just never seems like a very good idea. Call me crazy, I was just always taught that if you print a crap ton of money, inflation tends to smack everybody pretty damn hard. But, you know, I don't have traditional super financial degrees, so like I said, not financial advice. Alright, something else that I definitely thought was interesting in the world of student loans, you know, there's a whole lot of talk about whether or not we should cancel the debt. Well, it looks like a company has just got a judgment against it to cancel a portion of that debt. Student loan processor Navient required to cancel $1.7 billion in student loans. Now, obviously, this is what I read in the article, so I'm not saying this. This is just information I gleaned from the article. Basically, this $1.7 billion worth of loans was given to students for private things that they knew they weren't going to be able to pay back. That was what the article outlined, you know. That being said, if that is the case, obviously not too great to be like, no, you're right, we'll give you a loan for the $40,000 it takes to become an herb grower. Next thing you know, they don't have the ability to pay back that money. You know, the company probably should have known there wasn't much of a market there. I don't know, I feel like it's kind of a middle ground with student loans. Obviously, this is just my personal opinion. Student loans kind of vary because the cost of college have risen so much recently, right? Like, okay, sure, it does kind of suck that it's kind of cost you like $100,000 to get a degree now. But I don't know that everybody's student loan debt is necessarily equal, right? If a company preyed upon you and like made you sign a bunch of stuff you don't understand, or they knew you weren't going to be able to pay back, in my mind, that's different than like you deciding you're going to go to medical school. Obviously, you're going to need to pay for that and it's expensive. Like, we just all know that. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you know, that's my personal opinion, but I think companies like this that kind of take advantage of the fact that people think education is instantly going to give them a better paying job and maybe give them money for education that isn't going to have the reward they're thinking, yeah, that's a little bit messed up, I can't lie. But, you know, if more comes out in this lawsuit, then that's going to be interesting to see. Because I will say the company denies that they broke any laws, you know. I do just feel really bad that, you know, and I was a part of this generation, you convince a whole generation that college is the only way to succeed, and obviously colleges can charge whatever they want for that. When you tell everybody that the only way to succeed is getting a student loan and going to college, obviously everybody's going to become saddled with amounts of student loan debt, and it's going to be larger and larger because they're going to charge more and more. So I don't know, I think getting rid of a lot of this predatory debt would be a first good step, but I also think you kind of gotta fix the problem from the source and maybe be like, hey guys, not everybody needs to go to college. There's other options out there, you know? We don't all have to go get a 4-year degree to make a lot of money and be successful, because that's just not the reality of the situation, but school don't really tell you that. Next up, moving to another article that I can't help but think is just a little bit of sign of things to come. Mark Zuckerberg sells stock every day as billionaires cash out. Richest Americans have sold $43 billion of stock this year. And the Google founders Sergey Brin and Larry Page make their first sales since 2017. So, you know, we've talked before on this channel about how I think stocks and just everything in general is in a little bit of a bubble currently. It just is what it is, you know, there's no way around it. I don't know when it's going to crash. Like, I don't know when that's going to happen. If I knew that, trust me, I'd be a multi-billionaire, but it tends to not be a good sign when people start to sell off their stock. It tends to signify that we may be reaching the top of a bubble. Just because, you know, chances are if you're somebody who's in a position to have $80 billion worth of stock, you're going to be paying very close attention to that. And if there's a very, very good set of reasons to think that your stock might be valued a little bit more than it realistically should be, that tends to be the time you start selling off. So the fact that a bunch of billionaires have started to make a bunch of sales, even a bunch of ones that have been inactive since like 2017, to me signifies a type of choppiness coming. I mean, even in the last couple weeks, the NASDAQ has been getting slaughtered this year, which is most of the tech companies. So obviously, if you were selling a month ago, you were doing pretty well, and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon were unloading their shares around that time frame. You know, this isn't financial advice or anything, but if Mark Zuckerberg tends to be selling off a crap ton of shares, I don't know why you would take that as a sign to be more confident in Facebook. Usually when a CEO starts to sell off, it means that not anything good is going to be coming, because if it was, then they would have just kept the stock. Anyways, guys, that's kind of all the major headlines that you need to be aware of today. Overall, pretty rough day for the market, like a pretty damn rough day. Dow Jones down 0.5%, S&P 500 down 1.5%, in NASDAQ, ladies and gentlemen, getting absolutely punched square in the nose. The NASDAQ down 2.5% today, which, yeah, definitely not the best situation to be in if you're owning tech stocks. Russell 2000, though, only down about 0.7%, which, you know, if you're starting to talk about which one's down the least, not the best day. Regardless, that's everything y'all gotta know. If you enjoy this type of stuff, you want a channel you can come back to, watch daily stock news, finance stuff, all that jazz, be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications so you never miss another video I upload every day. And along with that, if you want to be a real legend, you can check out the intro song link down below, along with the link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast, or you could use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout. Great way to get yourself a bunch of great energy drink and help me out at the same time, so go ahead and do that. And the last link that you're going to find down there at the bottom of the description is going to be a link to my merch. So if you want to be a real G and pick yourself up the coolest t-shirt to ever exist, click that link and figure out where it takes you. And yeah, on that note, guys, that'll really do it. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.